economists, a lot of economics is we assume people kind of always behave in this rational way. They kind of we can model them like optimizing agents with maximizing some kind of function. Is like that's one thing that if we often assume about people. And then another thing that economists often assume about people, or I shouldn't say about people, about the way people will interact is that they'll interact through markets that are dictated by prices. So, you ever hear an economist say supply equals demand? That is an assertion that what's going to happen is that people are going to interact in a market where there's going to be a price, and the price is going to say rise until there's only enough goods for the number of people who want them, and kind of everybody's going to be able to trade. And so, if I had to say like what I thought of as the typical what economics understood very well when I entered the field 15 years ago was that kind of pair of things. People who were kind of rational optimizers, selfish optimizers who always did the right thing, participating in markets that were mediated by prices. And so I gravitated towards things that were not well understood, that were not like those environments. I gravitated towards kind of behavioral ideas. What happens when people aren't fully selfish? What happens when they don't fully optimize? And what happens in markets where there is no price? There is no kind of way for the price mechanism to solve it. What happens instead? So that first study that my first study, Al's last before he won the Nobel, was about allocating deceased donor organs. So a situation where we don't have prices. Instead, we have some kind of other allocation rule that is going to decide who gets this life-saving transplant. And it's going to rely partially on people being generous, like agreeing to donate their organs when they've passed on. And it's going to have to operate through a market where we're not going to be able to pay people for things. And so understanding that kind of environment was something, for me, it was like a totally new setting. And trying to understand how it worked, I kind of felt like it was more on the cutting edge than just kind of doing another paper about, when supply and demand meet.